Hello to the world. We're live on Facebook.
We are. I haven't done a Facebook Live, so I don't know what we're doing.
This is very exciting, though. Like, we're being now.
21st century.
Yeah, look at us. Okay, is anyone joining in to find out about the Down to Earth podcast? We're waiting. There's somebody. Oh, yeah, there's a few people. Hello, Todd. Look at you guys showing up. I wonder how we look and see if they ask questions. All right. You want to introduce us?
Yeah. So I'm Jess.
And I'm Joyce.
And we are the Down to Earth podcast.
We're the duo.
Yeah.
So we're super excited. We are learning a little bit about ourselves as we go here in terms of what we want to be passionate about and teach. And so we're pretty excited because the podcast is a different format than maybe you've experienced in terms of theological formation.
Yeah, most of our vocational life has been spent teaching people probably in a sermon format or lecturing at a school kind of format.
Yeah, or workshops, but yeah, generally that vibe.
Generally, yeah.
The we talk at you vibe.
Sorry. Sorry for my 52 minutes last
week.
Hi,
Debbie.
Sorry. Yeah, but we've been friends for a long time.
Almost 20 years, which might be dating us.
Say more like 12.
Yeah, okay. Well,
that's for all the lost years.
That's
for speak
silver
for yourself.
Hair.
So anyways, we've been friends for a long time, and often our worlds would kind of go, we would like miss each other because I would be speaking at a conference one year and then Joyce would speak at the next year. And in some ways we were like we were
the counterparts. Like if I couldn't do a thing, I would throw them your name or vice versa. And then we had the gift of all of a sudden living in the same city. So we live in Calgary, Alberta, and have overlapped here for almost 2 years.
Yep.
Which is awesome sauce.
Yeah, and we live 5 minutes from each other, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
We would go many years without actually seeing each other or even talking to each other.
Just started to feel like I wasn't a real friend. But in my heart, I was still a friend.
Snuffleupagus. Only those who know Sesame Street would know this.
See, but I grew up without TV, so it's lost on me. Okay, different conversation. What are we doing with our podcast?
So what we wanted to do, like I was a pretty big podcast listener, and I listened to all kinds of podcasts, business podcasts, funny podcasts,
economics,
anything
to do with math because she's a math nerd,
statistical podcasts. So I could bore all my friends.
Not my cup of tea.
Party podcasts. But anyways, we did recognize that there was somewhat a gap between devotional. Like there is a lot of devotional podcasts out there, and I've been enriched. My life has been enriched by lots of those. And then there was a divide between devotional content and theological content.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little more harsh than you. I'm just going to put it out there. Like, I think there's chicken soup for the soul motivational stuff that I don't think does a whole lot to enhance the discipleship of most Christians. It might make you feel better. It's a little bit like, I don't know, we borrowed something from the culture, like the guru voice or the Oprah Winfrey kind of encourage people. I don't think that's a bad thing. But we borrowed that and called it spiritual formation, and I don't think it is. So we didn't want to do academic theology in a podcast. That would be a whole different thing, and that's a pretty narrow niche. That's the stuff I like to listen to.
Not so much.
But you think about what kind of theological formation podcasts are out there. Lots of times if you wanted to listen to something, pastors will just put up their Sunday sermon. Okay, so that this podcast, Down to Earth, is not a Sunday sermon. It's not like Jess preaches one week and I preach one week, or you get samples from what we have been teaching. So it's not a sermon. It's not motivational speak. I'm being kinder. It's not academic theology.
This is where we differ. I like motivational
I know you
speaking.
do. Love it. She's so kind.
On a Monday morning,
argue.
Listen, we do argue a lot on this podcast. I said to somebody, it's mostly me making jokes at you.
Yeah.
For a good.
She does mock me pretty good, and she is really actually quite funny. But set that aside. The fourth kind of podcast I think that's out there in terms of theology would be an interview style. which is great. Like that's the converting of the old testimony Sunday night service, like from the 70s into a now format.
90s.
Whatever. We didn't do any testimony services in the 90s, but maybe you
were
did.
More progressive. You lived in the West. I lived in the East.
But this is not an interview style podcast. Basically, we've tried to come up with a way to dialogically teach. So in conversation, Jess and I, and sometimes healthy debate, we bring pretty deep theology and try to make it accessible to the everyday listener. And in a subsequent Facebook Live, we'll talk a little bit about season 1 and kind of some of the content there.
Yeah, but I think what most people would say about our speaking is that we tell lots of stories.
Right.
So I think really it's like it's narrative in nature.
Sure. And I think a lot of people who've heard us preach would want to know, like, are you going to tell some stories?
Right.
Because that is our strength. And we do. We tell heaps. In fact, one of the difficulties I discovered is I tried to tell stories more than once.
And I have to say, Kat, you already told
that story. Like, what are you doing? You told that in episode 5. So
anyways, we're really excited about it. And what we want to do, though, Insight for Living has really given us some instruction because clearly we are not technological gurus.
I'm a Luddite. I'm trying hard. But
you do have a Facebook account now, so that's pretty 20th.
Rock on.
20th century. But what we have to do is get 5,000. We'd like to get 5,000 subscribers just so that we're not having to go back and plow ground as we go.
If we can build our audience fairly rapidly, like if we hit our target, we're launching right away. If it takes a little bit of time, we're launching the first week of November. So just get on the blower.
Sherry's asking us a good question. So it's going to be not weekly, it's going to be bi-weekly.
Yeah, and actually, I think our producer said that they might drop more than one episode at a time, which we're kind of keen on because some of our episodes stand together, and let's face it, some of us like to binge listen. So, I mean, I'm giving a little bit away from the next Facebook Live, but I guess we will be doing, like, for instance, several episodes around social justice. That would be one example. Or theology of suffering. We talk about those. And so they might put out multiple episodes at once if there's a particular subject that's tied together.
Yeah, we're really thankful for all of you, though, that signed up already. Thank you for being part of the marketing launch team. Just so, like, as I looked at it and thought, does this mean that I have to know about Adobe Illustrator?
Right. Do I have to
I can barely keep my eyes open for any picture that is taken of me. I will tell you that any picture you see of me on the interwebs with my eyes open is a small miracle.
It's a miracle, yeah.
Small miracle.
I can vouch for that.
So you don't have to be a marketer to be on our launch team. It just means that you gave us, well, you didn't give us, you signed up your email address so that we can email you when it's actually going to launch.
Yeah, that's the number one thing you want to do is send people to downtoearthpodcast.com and tell them put their email address in. That's the number that's going to count in terms of when we launch. So as much as we love having you in our Facebook group, we want to also make sure you've put your email address in. Somebody's asking how long is each episode?
They vary.
Most of them are around 45 to 50 minutes.
We were a bit longer-winded at the beginning.
When we started,
then we were weary of each other, so we cut her down.
Our pilot is just over an hour. The website's working again. There was a glitch yesterday. Some of you would have caught that. And again, our team at Insight for Living said, this is why we do a pre-launch, because you don't want it to go south when it goes live. So we're just working out the bugs, but appreciate you catching that and letting us know right away. The more you share it or help people understand why you think it would be valuable to listen to. Some of you have heard us preach. So you're like, oh yeah, I've been begging you guys for years to put something out.
So many jokes.
Yeah.
Or you've been begging us to stop talking.
Yeah.
20 years. And this is your worst nightmare come true.
Well, then I don't think they'd be here.
No, they wouldn't.
Who has another question? Anybody want to know anything more specific about the podcast that we haven't answered? And where are people like joining in from? I know there's a few from the coast. Hello, shout out to my shout out to my longtime friend, Janine. I'm sorry, Janine, I just sort of acted like you're ancient, but you're not. And my sister, Debbie, is in from Ontario. Oh, there's Mike. He's from Vancouver. Yeah, he says, I think we all know you too well. Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's great that we've got people that know us and are on board. We've been working hard on this. You know, we've been recording for 6 months. So there are 24 episodes in season 1. And, well, there'll be 25 because at the very end, we're going to hopefully have questions that'll come in from season 1 that we'll respond to in the final episode. We actually hope, like, because it's a dialogue format podcast, our hope is that you will be in dialogue with us, maybe arguing in your car. Don't shout if you're on the subway at us while you're listening in a future episode. But yeah, writing in, making comments on Facebook or on our website, tweeting things, whatever. There'll be all that kind of option to engage the conversation.
Yeah, and we're just hoping that that's exactly what it will be. I just think that to have fully formed discipleship in the 21st century, that we have to be in dialogue with one another.
Yeah.
And I think the plot gets lost when we talk over top of each other. Sometimes you will hear us do that.
We do that.
But maybe in a healthy way, right? Where we're actually listening to one another. And we would love your input. We really...
Totally. And if there's specific things you're hoping we're going to cover, a couple people have already piped up on the Facebook launch team asking, are you going to talk about this or that? Like, go ahead and fire up some ideas if you're really thinking, like, I hope we theologically can have a dialogue about this, whatever this is, because that'll sew in for season 2, which we'll start recording in a couple of months. The other thing I would say just about our name, like, we're called Down to Earth, which we kind of had a laugh because there was some, what was that weird?
There's a sci-fi podcast.
Yeah, something about aliens coming to.
Yeah.
It's some weird conspiracy alien thing.
Sweet.
I think it's defunct now.
No, it doesn't happen anymore. We've taken up where they've...
Right. We've picked up
That's why we will be starting episode 1 about aliens.
But you can kind of guess that it's a bit of a dual entendre just about taking things of the kingdom of God and making them on the ground in our regular life.
Yeah, and I think as people, and I think as Christians, I think that's what we want to be, people who are down to earth.
Yeah.
I think when I have people say to me, wow, you're just really down to earth, that's like the largest compliment people can give.
Totally,
right?
Yep.
Because I think that's what we want to be. We don't want to be people that are up in the clouds and that nobody can actually access.
And that's probably the number one thing that you and I hear when we go out to speak is people say things like, you're so real. I think, is everyone else lying?
No, you're so honest.
Yeah.
And I always think, really?
Yeah.
What is everyone
We
else
are not good at pretension.
No.
So there you have it. Down to earth would imply also just a real, I guess, a kind of grittiness or an authentic and honest life lived. Hey, we got Georgia just showed up. Hi, Phil. And we've got a couple people in from Ontario. Any other questions? Just this is a very sort of quick snapshot for you today on this Facebook Live. Ooh, it's kind of crazy talking to people out there in the interwebs. What up? Yes, our husbands are now chatting at each other. Awesome.
We have left them with the children and the circus that is ensuing.
Yeah. All right. Well,
we're excited.
Super pumped.
Yeah.
Spread the word. You guys actually have done a really good job. I can't count the shares anymore because it's just gone sort of prolifically, and that's been really encouraging. But just keep sharing on your social media platforms and tell people again why, or if you want to reference, hey, I heard this person speak at such and such an event, or whatever the things are. Stories get people's attention. So if there's a story connected to why you want to listen, then let people know that, and we'll keep showing up. Yeah. And we'll let you know when things are going to launch.
Have a great night.
Ciao.